Hey guys, today we're going to discuss a game changer when it comes to helping your youth soccer teams build out of the back. So let's go. So you guys know on this channel, I advocate a possession-based style of play, and building out of the back is a huge part of that. And you've heard me talk about pattern choreography before. You've heard me talk about positional games before. Well, this is build out breakdown games. And it's another concept that comes from John Kokoris and the guys at 343. I've added my own coaching points, my own wrinkles to it, but I really think it's gonna be a game changer for your youth teams to build out of the back.
Setup begins by placing cones, as I have shown here, where you're essentially cutting the field in half, with pug goals added to the top of each area.
Your basic 2v1 build-out breakdown game is meant to represent the relationship between the center back and the fullback or wing.
Here you can see a setup of 14 players, so they're split in each half with 2 goalkeepers, 2 center backs, 2 fullbacks or wings, and 2 defenders on each side. If you had 12 players, you could just take 2 players away from the center back spots or the wing spots, but I would avoid taking players away from the defenders because you don't want to have the same player come and defend every time. If you have even less players, you could always just do this on one half or one side of the grid. The game begins with the ball being played out from our goalkeeper to our center back, just like what would happen in a goal kick. They now play 2v1 with the defender who comes in, and they're trying to either score in the pug goal or dribble it across the 2 cones. The play is then reset with our goalkeepers again playing the ball out to the new center back in line or the same center back depending on your numbers, and new defenders come.
In terms of your coaching points during the basic 2v1 build out breakdown game, the first thing is the center back has to receive the ball with an open body shape, and then he's got to take his space. A lot of times you'll see the center back play a ball to the wing or the fullback, but they haven't really been engaged by the defender. And there's no point in doing that because you haven't broken any defensive line. The other important points for the center back is once that ball is played to the fullback or the wing, you have to come over and support. So this is a positional game, and sometimes you'll see the center back play it to the wing, and then they'll try to do like a 1-2 where the center back will just go forward. But in a real game, that obviously can't happen. The center back has to engage and support the fullback on that side after they play it out. The other thing that sometimes can happen is that the defender can cheat. So if the defender's cheating over to the wing on one side, we just encourage the center back to continue taking the ball forward. In terms of the fullback, they need to support. So the main thing I'm trying to teach on support here is that your fullback or your wing stays along the same line as the defender. They can't be too high. They also can't be too low. Also note that we do encourage, if needed, you can play that goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper will come more into play when we go to the 3v2 or the 4v3 build out breakdown game, but that's always encouraged. And so you're gonna wanna tell your keepers to come out a little bit.
Here's an example of this, and you can see myself and one of the other coaches are actually being the goalkeepers, so you can also have that option depending on your numbers. But really, you're just trying to get as many scenarios of 2v1 building out of the back with the center back and the wing as possible. So for the 3v2, I've just set it up on one side of the grid, and it's going to depend on your numbers. So if you have, 10 players, 11 players like I have here, really just kind of going to one side and doing it there is going to be best. But if you have more players, you can easily set this up to be done on both sides at the same time. So all we're doing here with the 3v2 is adding the center midfielder position. So you have the center back, you have your fullback or your wing, and then you have your center midfielder, and you add one more defender. So you're going 3 against 2. And the pug goal here is really representing your striker, getting into that diamond as you're building out in a 7v7 format. Play begins the same way with the goalkeeper playing it out to the center back, who now play 3v2 to the pug goal or to dribble it through the 2 cones.
So the 3v2 breakdown game is a great way to introduce how we get out building out of the back from the center back position.
So in general, there are 5 ways to get out of the back from this position. And this is exactly how I coach it. The first is outside, which is a simple ball to the fullback who is open on the wing. Similarly, if the pressure takes the outside option away, the next most obvious option is our inside option to our center midfielder. So what if the pressure is a little bit more sophisticated, and now we're starting to look at combination patterns? Here you can see that the pressure has taken away the center midfielder option, but the dangerous space is still in the center part of the field. And while the center back can't directly play it into the center part of the field, he can combine with the fullback to get it into that area. This we call outside-inside. Here you can see the exact opposite situation where the pressure has taken away the outside option or the fullback, yet the dangerous space is still wide. Here we combine our center midfielder and our wing in what we call inside-outside. The last option is meant to encourage the center back to take his space, which we always do. So if there is no pressure, we just keep taking the ball forward until we can play a direct ball to our striker, or in this case, the pug goal, and just go score.
So just a couple of things to take into context, guys. We're splitting the field in half, and we're doing that on purpose because we're trying to break down individual elements of build out. So the idea of switching the point of attack, we're not necessarily talking about here, and that's okay, because what we're going to do is continue to progress this to where the whole field will open up.
Here's a couple clips of my teams doing this on the pitch, and you can see here in this first clip we have a coach as the goalkeeper. It really depends on your numbers. Here we have one of our actual goalkeepers rolling the ball out, and again, you're really going to try to emulate the game as much as possible. So if it's closed, we play it right back to our goalkeeper here, play it over, and you're looking for ways, how do we build out of the back, how do we get out? And you can see here the fullback just ends up beating the defender down the sideline to get us out. So here in the last version of our build out breakdown games, we add the striker. And you could keep the pug goal or you could take it away. I sort of like to take it away, but sometimes I'll leave it because the kids like to shoot and score. But when you take it away, you sort of emulate that, really trying to break lines and get out of the back, and then you sort of into midfield transition. But the key here is finding the striker. So you've added that striker, and the coaching points are, can you find the striker? Can the striker get into a good area? Can they give 45-degree angles in terms of their support of the ball carrier? And you're still incorporating the other things that we filtered in with the 2v1 and the 3v2. Here's a quick clip of what this looks like. Again, you can see the idea is that they make it as game-like as possible, and the center back and the fullback and the center mid are really looking to find that striker who can get into dangerous spots.
So just a couple of notes. Depending on your numbers is really going to depend on if you can do 2 side by side or not. You're always going to want an extra layer of defenders. So if you have the 4v3, you're going to need 6 defenders because you don't want those 3 defenders coming every single time. Okay. So what I would do in a typical session, maybe you could go from 2v1 to 3v2 to 4v3. It really depends on the skill level of your players in terms of the progression. Maybe you just start with the 2v1 and you kind of do that for a while. But once your team is fairly comfortable with these build out breakdown games, then you're going to open it up into a positional game. So a 7v3, a 7v4, some of these build out games where you put 2 pug goals at the half line and you play it out from the goalkeeper, and then they can use the whole field. So they've got the build out breakdown points of how we move the ball in maybe one half of the field, and then you start to introduce, okay, now how do we switch field, switch the point of attack to get out. Guys, if you have any questions on those build out breakout games, feel free to leave them in the comments or reach out to me directly, and I hope that this helps your team build out of the back.